Mr. Chairman, that takes us to our public petitions. First public petition is item 6A. It's a public petition request from Alan G. Reeves regarding the requirement of permits for the replacement of electric water heaters located in multifamily dwellings. Mr. Reeves?
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Alan Reeves. I'm a local plumbing contractor here in Naples. And I guess for Industry Week, I come to talk to you a little bit about my industry. I'm representing 28 other plumbing companies and over 70 individual plumbers. And it's all in regards for the current water heater permits that we have to pull.
Can I hold you up for just a moment? Can you turn up these microphones a little bit, Michael?
See if that's any better?
I think that's better.
Okay.
Yeah.
2 years ago, you had several concerned citizens come to speak before you about this same predicament that we're in right now. And at that time, all they could do is really speculate what might happen if these permits come into being. Well, everything that they were worried about and concerned about has come true. They, over the last 16 months, I've lost 50% of my business in Collier County because of these permits. And other companies are noticing the same trend. And it's not because the work isn't there. The calls still come in just as they always have, but once we mention that you might need a permit or that you might need to upgrade your electrical connections, those calls end right there. My business is based solely on just doing water heaters. This is an ad that we used to run in the Naples Daily News every week, which worked really well for us. And since the permits have really taken effect, here's the same page. That's our ad right now, because there's really just nothing happening in Collier County because of these permits. Now, you might think that it's because of the slowing economy that everybody talks about, but in Lee County, our business thrives. That's because Lee County doesn't enforce these permits. Still on the books, but they choose not to enforce them, just like 16 months ago here. We spent a lot of time down at the Collier County Permitting Department going back and forth over the need for these permits, what it was for, and in the end, what two of the inspectors finally admitted were that they weren't really so much looking at the plumbing aspect of a water heater, but the electrical connection, making sure that's brought up to code. And so why, after all these years of water heaters passing their original permits and inspections, why are they so interested in going back at that for something that's been in the National Electric Code for over 2 decades? And really the only reason it can be is that they're wanting to get paid twice for a job they didn't do in the first place with enforcing that electrical code that's been in the book since the early 90s according to the permitting department. So why now do they need to enforce this ridiculous tax in the form of a permit on the citizens of Collier County when people can afford it the least? A few examples of how these permits are hurting local businesses, local economy. It goes against public safety. All you have to do is really consider the cost. If you take a $300,000 house that you'd build, the permits for that is $636. That gives you 0.02% the cost of the house in permits. That's not very bad. If you replace your air conditioner, that's about $8,000. The permit for that is $110. You're just shy of under 0.01% of the job. But when you have your water heater replaced for just $500, if you get a permit on that, it's 22% additional cost on top of that water heater. That's ridiculous. Now, if you have to get your electrical connection upgraded, you're pushing up to 64% additional cost over that $500 water heater. That puts me out of business in Collier County. And that's why all my advertising dollars that used to go here in Collier County, that all goes to Lee County now. And when I need to hire new employees, I'm going to have to hire them from Lee County. So I just, if it's not really helping public safety, it's not helping the economy, if it's burdening everybody with time and money that's being wasted, and it's not really keeping any unlicensed contractors away from doing these jobs because they can't pull permits in the first place, what good is it? I mean, what do we really need that for? So that's what that's what we're asking you. All these other kind of contractors and regular plumbers that have signed my petition, we just want to go back to, how it was 16 months ago, where they trusted licensed contractors to do the job. It's not brain surgery, it's just changing a water heater. I'm not saying to get rid of all water heater permits, because honestly, if you need to relocate your water heater for whatever reason, that should be inspected. If you have a gas water heater, that too should be inspected. That's where things can go wrong. But if you're taking out the exact same thing and replacing it like for like, it's the same connections, everything else is already there, that doesn't need to be inspected again. They did it the first place when the house was built. It passed then. If the county wants to go back and chase after these electrical connections that they hadn't enforced for the past 20 years, let them find another way of doing it. Maybe when the house sells, like when you have to have a termite inspection, or when FPL comes in and puts their on-call boxes on all these water heaters that we do. That could take care of the majority of them there, instead of letting FPL just have a free pass from codes and permits and inspections like they do. So that's what we're asking for, is just rethink this whole thing. It's a bad idea. It's hurting everybody.
Okay. Commissioners, let me remind you that the action we are being asked to take here is to make a decision as to whether or not we bring this back for a full hearing, not necessarily to resolve the issue today. Okay? So, Commissioner Hiller?
I'd like to make a motion that we bring this back for a full rehearing.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Hiller to bring it back for a hearing, seconded by Commissioner Fiala. And there must be more discussion. Commissioner Coletta has his light on.
Well, it's when we bring it back, besides the cost of the permit, how the permit's obtained should be an issue, and there should be a recognized difference between electric and gas. They're two different entities. They're totally different. If you're replacing a hot water heater that already has a plug-in, nothing more than connecting the pipes and plugging it back in again, that's an exorbitant expense. And why should somebody have to go all the way down to the county building to pick up this permit if it's needed? It should be something that could be attained through the computer directly, without having to go through it and take payment and credit cards. Like we've been pushing for a long time. Moving in that direction, but we're not quite there yet. That's something I hope that's in this consideration when it comes back.
Okay, Commissioner Fiala.
Yes, thank you. And also, I would like to talk about, I'd also heard from a contractor just a couple weeks ago about the prices of the permits and how they've gone up, and possibly we should be addressing this. I just have to ask you, Jamie, thank you for being there. We don't need a permit to put a water heater into a residential home. It's only for multifamilies?
Good morning, Commissioners. For the record, Jamie French, thank you. Yes, ma'am. In ordinance number 2009-59, this board directed staff to no longer require, and the state of Florida allows for that within the administrative code of the Florida Building Code, to exempt single-family detached homes. I think what this gentleman is speaking about is commercial connections. In 2008, the National Electric Code was indeed updated to require that a flexible cord no longer be allowed. So these hot water heaters, even in new construction, and quite honestly in the single-family homes, although they're exempt from the permitting process, they should be hardwired in, and if in fact that connection is not within sight from that water heater or that connection, they should have an electrical lockout. That's what the code says. Now, we also have a declaratory statement from the State Building Commission that gives us that direction. Now, I would tell you that we don't necessarily disagree that a like-for-like replacement seems to be de minimis in scope of building a new home or constructing a new facility. However, the state has not given us much leeway. So to minimize that intrusion, we've minimized this to one single inspection. Now, for a like-for-like replacement, it is a $50 plan review and $60 fee, and that's been adopted within our fee schedule. So it's $110 for that inspection, unless, of course, it requires all new electrical. Let's say you have to install a lockout. You don't have your breaker box immediately available. It's in the other room. At that point, it would require a secondary inspection just for the electric from the breaker all the way to the new wiring, which would be an additional $60. So at the very most, you'd be looking at $170 for this type.
Jamie, I just asked the question, if it was just a single-family home, because I think that this is, I'm so glad you brought this to light. And again, I heard from another gentleman just about a week ago or 2 weeks ago about the same issue. I think that maybe we need to readdress, one of the things we haven't displayed is friendliness toward the business community, and I think we want to do everything we can to start encouraging businesses to be able to expand, to improve, and we're going to hold a workshop on economic development as well, and we need to let the business community know that we do care about them. And so maybe when we do this, when we bring it back to a meeting, maybe there's something we should be discussing about workshopping. But we can talk about that behind the scenes and see if this is an item that we want to even put together a workshop on. Thank you very much.
All in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by like sign? Okay, it will be scheduled for a full public hearing. County Manager, can we expect that at the next meeting?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. Thank you very much.